Dick Hoey, standing by, chief economist at Bank of New York Mellon. Dick, what do you think about what Dr. Romer was just telling us? I mean, did she seem to you to have concrete plans or ideas for how to build jobs?
I think that the basic story is that the stimulative policies of the past, with a lag, will give you kind of a shallow U, gradual turn in the labor market. And there's not an awful lot that they have the flexibility to do that's going to change that picture, to dramatically accelerate the rate of improvement in the job market. They are constrained by the fact that we have a massive long-term budget deficit.
Right.
The market has not that much confidence that it will be addressed. The Volcker Commission was supposed to report on taxes December 4th. December 4th is right here. They said, well, we need to work on it a little longer, or whatever.
Right.
So there's an absence of addressing the long-term budget deficit, which means that the administration's hands are a little tied in terms of what they can actually do beyond just waiting.
Right. You mentioned lack of confidence. We're definitely seeing a lack of confidence in the trade. As Matt mentioned, really over the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, we've seen stocks steepen to their worst levels of the day. John Brady of MF Global, you're out there at the Chicago Merc. What's going on here? People nervous all of a sudden ahead of tomorrow's labor report?
Well, I think so. You know, there was a story that was leaked earlier today that perhaps the White House was concerned about an uptick in the unemployment rate. And I think that caught the market a little bit off guard in the fact that, recall that we saw the unemployment rate last month increase from 9.8% to 10.2%, which is a rather large jump. And I think market expectations were such that the unemployment rate would probably just stay the same at 10.2% following the large jump last month. And now with the idea that perhaps the unemployment rate will go higher, 10.3, 10.4%, that is a little concerning to market psychology. Likewise, too, sort of given the losses that we've seen, I think now the struggle is going to be what income growth does and hourly wage growth does. And if that is anemic as well, then the market will probably have to reprice a little bit in terms of what consumer spending and consumer strength will be like during this holiday season. So equities are softening up here a little bit. I think as portfolio managers get a little bit defensive ahead of tomorrow.
You know, Dick, let me ask you, the monthly jobs report always important, but I mean, is it more so right now because we're really trying to figure out which way the economy's headed? Yeah,
there's a real sense of one of these months we're going to get a big improvement and hope that we start to see a turn. It's awfully premature to think that it would happen yet. We're seeing a little bit of improvement in temporary jobs. The American Staffing Association surveys improved a little bit. Overtime's improved a little bit. What we are seeing is a slowing of layoffs. What we're not seeing is a pickup of new hiring.
Right.
So we have kind of half the makings of the beginning of transformation from a worsening labor market to an improving labor market. But you're going to need an improvement of 100,000 jobs or more a month to prevent the unemployment rate from still going higher. When we go to a plus 20,000 number, the unemployment rate is still going to be under upward pressure. It's not good enough just to get it positive.
But we should expect that, right, coming out of a recession?
Yes. This is going to be a gradual improvement in the labor market. There's going to be a phase where you actually have positive payroll growth a couple of months from now, but you're also not seeing a declining unemployment rate because the number of new workers entering the labor force is growing faster than the number of new jobs that are being created. We aren't even close to that. We're still in the declining stage. But it's a little more mixed picture today with the weekly unemployment claims down, the temporary employment going up, the American Staffing Association survey improving. It's getting a little more mixed as opposed to purely negative.
Isn't it, though? I mean, Dick, you look at the markets a lot as well. You're not a pure economist here. Isn't it good for the markets tomorrow and next week if we do see a better than expected number? And I point that out because John Herman is writing in and says we should lose 13,500 jobs in the private sector tomorrow. We'll lose 18,000 from the Postal Service overall, but it's almost a gain. I mean, if you strip out the government losses, the private sector doesn't look so bad.
I actually think that what the market is mostly debating is whether the economic recovery is going to be sustainable. and it may not be as sensitive to moderate surprises up or down in the short-term indicators that are coming in. So I think the debate in the market is not, are we in a recovery? The debate is it sustainable? I'm on the side, we have begun a sustainable economic recovery.
Dick, I want to bring you back because he said, if anybody's got a burning idea that will set the world on fire when it comes to creating jobs, is there any burning idea out there, or do we need to just be patient and let the recovery take hold?
Well, one of the interesting things is the first question he started to get was regulation. And especially in the small business sector, there's a lot of worry about potential adverse policy change. The small business side, middle-sized businessmen, they're worried about a change in taxes that might impact them. They're worried about a change in regulation. There's a lot of uncertainty, not just about the financial supply of credit, but also about what the rules of the game are going to be. And one of the things that's happening is, as they work on the health care bill, every couple of days they need another $30 billion, so somebody comes up with another proposed tax increase. In the end, they're going to decide on a certain subset of those tax increases. But in the meantime, you've got this very long list of possible tax increases that is being put out there. The big companies have the staff to know what's likely and what's not likely. But if you're a small businessman, I think there's an uncertainty. What is going to happen? How are they going to change the rules of the game in healthcare, in cap and trade, in regulation? And I think that uncertainty, combined with the economic uncertainty, says let's postpone hiring somebody for many of these small and medium-sized businesses. And Bernanke's testimony today, the congressmen, the senators were very much on this issue of the situation of the small and mid-sized business people, and they are the ones facing this uncertainty.
Hang on a second. John Brady, I want to get back to you quickly on a comment that we had from Dick Hoey earlier, talking about the fact that the market's debating whether the recovery is sustainable or not. What's the window like down there? Because it seemed like in November, guys in the market were just riding the gravy train for the next 6 months, and then the party's over when the Fed starts raising rates.
Right. Well, I don't think the Fed's going to be raising rates anytime soon. I think what will be of concern to the equity markets as we turn the page into 2010 will be two things. First of all, obviously job growth. Job growth will be important, but likewise, too, it's going to be the performance, I think, of longer-dated Treasury yields and longer-dated interest rates. You know, today, for example, there was whispers that foreign central banks were selling longer-dated Treasuries, 2s, 10s, and 2s, 30s as a yield spread, both steepened out to rather wide levels. And so longer-dated interest rates could play a role here. We could move to a higher interest rate environment with the Fed doing nothing, with the Fed staying at 0%, just simply because of a supply-demand issue. So that's really kind of a concern, I think, for the equity markets as we go into 2010. First of all, what will job growth be, income growth be, and will any sort of job growth be sustainable? And then, of course, what do longer-dated interest rates do? All
right, John, we got to run. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. John Brady and Dick Hoey right here in studio. Thank you, and for making sense of some of what the president was saying as well. We appreciate it.